Welcome back, family. I wanted to share something that will shed some light on this old debate about what came first, the chicken or the egg. It's something I heard growing up, and people talked about this in school, and it was funny to hear the different arguments, and it was entertaining, and people would debate these things. Well, as I'm thinking about this actual topic and planning on doing a science lesson next year with our creation standard program, I came across a video that was talking about that exact same debate. And it is a Neil deGrasse Tyson video. He's doing some sort of podcast with this young lady. I don't know anything about this lady, but they are talking about it. And I want you to see it, and then we're going to break it down why they're wrong and solve this riddle once and for all, because this is something that is important to see, especially with the false information. I wouldn't think that I would need to be doing something like this with all the technology we have and all the understandings we have about life. However, I want to show this to you. It's one of those that just makes you cringe when you watch it. So bear with us. I will go ahead and play that so you can see what I'm talking about and have clarity. So here it is.
I want to talk a lot about the chicken or the egg debate.
People are still debating that?
They are.
It's not a debate.
That's what I think too.
No, it's not a debate. It's very clear and simple. The egg came first.
The egg came first.
It was just laid by a bird that was not a chicken.
Yeah, proto-chicken.
Yeah, proto-chicken, sure. Yeah. And then there's a genetic alteration which occurs in every generation, very tiny genetic variations. And the egg that comes out of it, you would say, that's not a proto-chicken, that's a chicken.
Okay, so here's where we differ on this, and I'm open to changing my mind, of course.
As so many people aren't.
Yes, well, I try to be, I'm okay with being wrong.
If you convince me, go ahead.
So to me, the debate it's two-pronged, like chicken or the egg. The egg comes first, just because eggs as a concept are millions of years old. They predate chickens in general.
That's not why I think that's true, but that's also true.
Yeah, that's also true. So that's one thing that I think people get caught up on.
There were eggs way before they were chicken.
Yeah, eggs way before chicken.
Okay, so that's the end of the video. Eggs before chickens. So that's one of their answers. We're going to look at why that's wrong. And the whole proto-chicken aspect, we're going to look at why that's wrong. Because some of you probably have never heard the term proto-chicken. It sounds laughable. It is, and I'm not making fun of anyone that believes it, but you'll see why it's laughable. We're going to break that down, hopefully, so you understand. But just to go back to their last claim that the egg came first, why is that wrong? Well, many people out there are starting to farm chickens. And in doing this, you've probably found out that if an egg is not fertilized, it's going to rot. And it doesn't take long. So the egg coming first with sexual reproduction is not possible with just an egg. Okay? So the egg coming first, not going to happen. Who laid this egg? Well, whoever laid it had to have genetics that were passed on to the egg. And not just one set of genetics, you need two from the mother and the father, because that's how chickens work today. That's how they've always worked since creation. So, about the chicken though, if you have that chicken and it lays the egg, that means it's a female chicken or a hen. And so you have a female chicken laying an egg, that's great. But what do we just learn? Those eggs will rot if they aren't fertilized. So having a chicken come first doesn't solve this mystery. But there's also male chickens. If you have a male chicken first, let's say he was just created as is, male chicken, a rooster. Probably heard them in the mornings. They're excellent alarm clocks. Without the female to reproduce, he simply dies. His kind is gone. He's no longer a species. So if the father just made male chickens or roosters, they would not continue on. He had to make both male and female, like the word tells us, of each kind. A male and a female is required because the male fertilizes the egg. Without the male fertilizing the egg, like we said, it will rot. But if he fertilizes it, guess what? Both of their genes are passed on. Not the genes of some proto-chicken, but the exact genes that the father gave them are passed on. They're not going to be able to go and reproduce with other different types of birds. It's just the male and the female chickens doing what they do, the fertilization process happening before the egg is even laid. They lay the egg. There's a difference between a fertilized and an unfertilized egg. The eggs that you eat, hopefully, are not fertilized. They are eggs that are just laid by the hens and collected. So there's your simple answer. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The answer is a hen and a rooster, a male and female chicken. Then the egg was fertilized, then it was laid, and you have more of each kind. So the genes have to be passed on that way. Some slight alteration of the genes is not going to produce a chicken from some dino bird. But now we're going to look at that dino bird. That's important. This has been a theory that came up in recent times that dinosaurs just devolved into birds. They got smaller, their scales turned into feathers, and this was extremely popular. And then some evidence was released that said that there was actually a dino bird. And this dino bird, Archaeoraptor lianensis, that bird was put out there by Nat Geo as this missing link between the dinos and the birds. After the theory, of course, they create these theories and then they find the evidence. That's not sketchy, but they find the evidence and it's a missing link, they say. However, you can look this up. It was a hoax. It was a deliberate hoax of these fossils wedged together to look like something that these paleontologists were looking for. And so, even though Nat Geo put it out there, it was still a fraudulent hoax. And so, getting back to the dinosaurs turning into birds aspect, you have to realize this is based on the theory that scales turn into feathers. And if you've ever looked at feathers under a microscope or zoomed in on them with just a magnifying lens, you can see they look nothing alike. Scales and feathers are nothing alike in purpose. I mean, feathers do provide some protection from the elements, but feathers and scales are nothing alike. Scales would never help an organism fly, and feathers have a totally different shape. They're hollow in the middle. They have all of these fine little fibers that masterfully grow out with perfect symmetry most of the time, and even with colorful patterns. You don't always see these colorful patterns on scales. And even here, look at this peacock. I mean, this thing is beautiful. The symmetry, the colors. To think that that was at one time dinosaur scales is laughable. That was never a T-Rex roaming around, and now it's this beautiful peacock. And that's just the male variety. The female doesn't even look like that. And so that's based on highly intelligently designed genetics so that this could produce offspring. And if it's a male, it's going to look like the dad. If it's a female, it's going to look a lot like the mother. And the peacock is just one type of bird. There's many, we're excluding chickens here. There's also chickens, but there's many types of birds. When you look at just some of the birds of the world here, this isn't even every single bird species in this picture. The colors, the feathers, the size of the feathers, the way these things fly. Now, there are some flightless birds by design so that you can eat them. It's going to be kind of hard to catch the birds that fly, but there are so many different varieties. I mean, look at these things. Many of these have so many unique rituals when it comes to mating and finding a mate. All the things that they do is masterfully done. Some of these are predatory birds that are going after small primary consumers. And some of them are massive predators that can go after larger primary consumers and even secondary consumers or tertiary consumers. These things are designed to do what they do for a reason. A lot of them have night vision, things like owls that can just hunt with this like telescopic vision. They can see things from really far away, and even at night. Really cool how they are designed to do the things that they do. And so dinosaurs turning into all these different types of birds, guys, is impossible for many reasons. And then we look at how they say things evolve. Typically, it's from smaller to larger organisms. That's what we've been shown with all of these missing links. They always try to go, oh, here's a little bitty one. They get bigger and bigger. How far back can you go with that? How far back was the horse originally the size of a mouse? with their logic, or was it, go all the way back to this amoeba-sized horse? No, it's nonsense. But let's look at some of the famous missing links. They give us a missing link that we've talked about before. It's the Ostega right here, this guy, turning into all these different dinosaurs around the world. Okay, 365 million years ago, he allegedly crawled out on land. And I'm not even going to spend a whole lot of time showing you why this guy is fraudulent and what they've done to that evidence. We've talked about that before. But let's just look at his size. Remember, going from smaller to larger, about 1.5 meters or 4.9 feet tall. Stand him up vertically. There you go. You can see pretty short, short little guy coming out of the water. Let's not even think about how he was reproducing, because if you go out on land and you're laying eggs like he would have needed to do, someone's going to have to fertilize that egg. Then you have to have, again, kind of like the chicken and the egg, both a male and a female coming out at the exact same time onto the land. Unless they're saying this was a asexual reproduction and it laid its eggs and those things were just fertilized on their own or contained all the genes they needed to make an exact copy. And then you would be having exact copies, because that's how asexual reproduction typically works. It's exact copies most of the time, and there are strange cases when it isn't. But let's look at the scale and the size of that. I think that's important. I tried to pull up some of the dinosaurs that would have been made not that long after this thing came out on land, 365 million years ago. You have these dinosaurs, massive creatures allegedly that we don't have any full skeletons of, coming out of the water and evolving into all of these 300 million years later. Seems possible until you start doing it to scale. So I copied this picture here. It's the Ostega. Put him right here so you can see next to Hypsilophodon, or however you say that word, and put him right there. So you can see they're about the same size, these two creatures. But this guy to become this guy doesn't seem that far-fetched based on their size. But you look at their structures and how this one ran around, quite different. But to go from that to something like, let me paste this so you can see, something like this, it would be a snack for this creature right here. Look at this little guy, teeny tiny. And they want us to believe that it became one of these. And it also became one of these right here. One of these. Like, everything's related in their model. It also became the good old T-Rex. Somehow became one of these. Smaller to larger. But then these guys all went extinct. And then they devolved into birds. And so that is the story that's being pushed on our children. That's what you saw Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about. This stuff is impossible. It's laughable. Again, I'm not here to make fun of people that believe this, but if you were taught this and you were believing that, it is a lie. It's a satanic lie that goes against what's possible, our Father's provable truth of creation. And that's why we need to team up and create biblical, scientifically provable lessons that do just that. They destroy these satanic lies that go against the logic and require all of the fraudulent evidence we've seen in the past. The Piltdown Man, the Nebraska Man, Lucy, all of those alleged missing links that keep coming up, they're always going to be false or bone fragments that they use to fit their narrative by drawing things in a way that's very cunning. They don't have science on their side. They have bias. And as an educator for 16 years, with this year being one of my final before I start the new chapter with Creation Standard, the bias is heartbreaking. The false evidence children are exposed to is devastating to their faith. It makes them not interested in science. I've watched them come into a classroom excited to learn and then finding out, oh, wait, we're insignificant. Not the way I was teaching it, but the way other teachers are teaching it. And it crushes them. Imagine you're young and you're looking for an identity and you find out you came from something like this, that you're an accident, that you don't matter. And now we want you to care about everything. We want you to care about learning. That robs them of the joy of learning about intelligent design. Once they find out how wonderfully they are made, they come alive. I've seen this in my own classroom, and these students are excited to learn. They're excited to see the proofs of the Red Sea crossing. They're excited to see the verifiable proof and evidence that backs up the Bible word for word. It's a history book, it's a science book. It tells us who we are, where we came from, and how precious we are to the Father. And I know a lot of you just look at the little children as being precious, but we are his inheritance. He tells us that. People of all ages, everyone, the ones that he's looking forward to, his inheritance. He's not looking forward to inheriting giant mansions full of gold. He's looking towards the future of inheriting his children. We are his inheritance. What can you give the creator of everything that would make him joyful? It's us. And so we need to protect our minds and the minds of our children. And so that's why he has led me down this road to do something like Creation Standard. It's something I was terrified to step out and do, but I thank him for guiding me to do this and giving me peace and helping me fight through the fear because I was terrified of what could happen going down this road. And the amount of support we've had has been humbling. So I thank all of you who have been sharing Creation Standard, registering for classes, which is free to register for. And I'm hoping that we can get enough support to where it can just stay free all year. But for now, there's a small fee. You only pay for 3 classes with reduced prices, with 30 for one class per family. You don't have to pay for a class more than once per family. A second class is only $20, and then the third class is $10. And if you have a family that's large and you're in all 4 classes, the fourth class is free. I forgot to even say that. I didn't even realize it until a couple weeks ago. And I was like, wait a minute. I added a fourth class and I never factored that into the prices. So I'm not going to add it in. It's free. If you have a family that's large enough to have all 4 classes, we're going to make that fourth class free. You won't pay more than $60 a month. No matter how large your family is, you can have 10 people in classes, $60 a month max. If you need free and reduced prices, reach out to me. Let us know, and we will try to find sponsors and see what we can do. I do not want you to miss out for the sake of you just can't afford it. I want this to be free. That's my goal. It's not right now because it's like I said, I'm stepping away from what I've been doing for 16 years. I want to be able to devote full time to it. It's going to be a challenge, but with the Father's guidance, it's going to be a blessing. So I thank you guys again for sharing. I thank you for joining us on this mission. It's important. It's going to be fun, and I look forward to what it's going to do. The countdown is getting insanely close. I did not realize how fast time would fly. We're in, I believe, the 70s. Let me see where we're at. Let me just go to creationstandard.com. Scroll down, you can see the countdown. Makes me nervous. 73 days right there. Really cool to see that, but it's getting real knowing that it's that close. And so August 12th is when classes start. You guys can find all of the information on the website. So if you want to register, there's a registration spot. If you want course information, you can click simple options right here. Find all the information about the different courses. Trying to target many age groups here with Earth's Foundation and Firmamental Breakdown. This is more of your elementary to middle school aged. It's our largest class right now. And this is more of a high school and beyond. Again, you could have graduated high school. You could be 70 or 80 and still learn about the Father's provable truth of biblical creation. You don't even have to be a geocentric believer to join these classes. You can test it out. See if your mind has changed. If it's not, it's okay. I don't just want everybody to come in that believes the same way. Test it out. That's what we all did. We were testing, as Rob Skiba said, testing the globe. And so we're going to be working to do that and look at both sides. If you want to support Creation Standard, you can do that here. Just go to more, click support. Several options on here. I know a lot of you don't like PayPal. And so I thank you for your patience, your help, and understanding. And I'll go ahead and let you guys go. I just wanted to share that with you all because it breaks my heart to see that false information put out there as if it's cool with their podcast format with the Neil deGrasse Tyson and praying for people like that. I would love to see somebody like him get delivered. Think about Paul. He had just spent his time persecuting believers in the Messiah, and then he became a believer in the Messiah and joined the cause. It would be awesome to see something like that. It would take a lot. It would take some miracles. It would probably take some insane circumstances for things like that to happen. But the father, we don't need to put limit on what he can do for his children. So I thank you guys. I love you. The Father loves you, and we'll see you around real soon.